Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am MK Jabintar. Today in this video I am giving you the knowledge about the first module of the subject database management systems for 5th sem CSE CBCS VTU students. I am dedicating this video to all the students all over the world. Now let us see module 1, Introduction to Databases. Introduction. A database is a collection of related data. A data mean noun facts that can be recorded and that have implicit meaning. For example, consider the names, telephone numbers and addresses of the people you know. You may have recorded this data in a indexed address book, or you may have stored it on a hard drive using a personal computer and software such as Microsoft Access or Excel. This collection of related data with an implicit meaning is a database. A database has the following implicit properties. A database represents some aspect of the real world, sometimes called the mini world or the universe of disclosure. The universe of discourse. Changes to the mini world are reflected in the database. A database is a logically coherent collection of data with some inherent meaning. A random assortment of that data cannot correctly be referred to as a database. A database is designed, built and populated with data for a specific purpose. It has an intended group of users and some preconceived applications in which these users are interested. Other properties. A database can be of any size and complexity. For example, the list of names and addresses referred to earlier may consist of only a few hundred records, each with a simple structure. An example of the large commercial database is Amazon.com. A database may be generated and maintained manually, or it may be computerized. For example, a library card catalog is a database that may be created and maintained manually. A computerized database may be created and maintained either by a group of application programs written especially for that task or by a database management system. A database management system is a collection of programs that enables user to create and maintain a database. The database is a general purpose software system that facilitates the process of defining, constructing, manipulating and sharing databases among various users and applications. Defining a database involves specifying the data types, structures and constants of the data to be stored in the database. The database definition or descriptive information is also stored by the database management system in the form of a database catalog or dictionary. It is called metadata. Constructing the database is the process of storing the data on some storage medium that is controlled by the DBMS. Manipulating a database includes functions such as querying the database to retrieve specific data, updating the database to reflect changes in the mini world, and generating reports from the data. Sharing a database allows multiple users and programs to access the database simultaneously. An application program accesses the database by sending queries or requests for data to the DBMS. A query typically causes some data to be retrieved. A transaction may cause some data to be read and some data to be written into the database. Other important functions provided by the DBMS include protecting the database and maintaining it over a long period of time. Protection includes system protection against hardware or software malfunction or crashes, and security protection against unauthorized or malicious access. A typical large database may have a life cycle of many years, so the database management system must be able to maintain the database system by allowing the system to evolve as requirements change over time. Database and DBMS software together a database system. See the figure, a simplified database system environment. The information technology department within a company designs and maintains an information system consisting of various computer storage systems, application software, and databases. Design of a new application for an existing database or design of the brand new database starts off with a phase called requirements, specification, and analysis. These requirements are documented in detail and transformed into a conceptual design that can be represented and manipulated using some computerized tools so that it can be easily maintained, modified, and transferred into a database implementation. The design is then translated to a logical design that can be expressed in a data model implemented in a commercial DBMS. The final stage is physical design, during which further specifications are provided for storing and accessing the database. The database design is implemented, populated with actual data, and continuously maintained to reflect the state of the mini world. Characteristics of the database approach. In traditional file processing, each user defines and implements the files needed for a specific software application as a part of programming the application. For example, one user, the grade reporting office, may keep files on students and their grades, programs to print a student's transcript, and to enter new grades are implemented as a part of the application. A second user, the accounting office, may keep track of students' fees and their payments. Although both users are interested in the data about students, each user maintains separate files and programs to manipulate these files because each requires some data not available from the other user's file. This redundancy in defining and storing data results in wasted storage space and in redundant efforts to maintain common up-to-date data. The main characteristics of database approach versus the file processing approach are as follows. Self-describing nature of a database system, insulation between programs and data abstraction, support of multiple views of the data, sharing of data, and multi-user transaction processing. Self-describing nature of a database system. DB approach. A fundamental characteristics of a database approach is that the database system contains not only the database itself but also a complete definition or description of the database structure and constraints. This definition is stored in the DBMS catalog, which contains information such as the structure of each file, the type and storage format of each data item, and various contents on the data. The information stored in the catalog is called metadata, and it describes the structure of the primary database. Whenever a request is made to access, say, the name of the student record, the DBMS software refers to the catalog to determine the structure of the student file and the position and size of the named data item within a student record. Traditional file processing. In traditional file processing, data definition is typically part of the application programs themselves. Hence, these programs are constrained to work with only one specific database whose structure is declared in the application programs. In a typical file processing application, the file structure and, in the extreme case, the exact location of the name with a student record are already coded within each program that accesses this data item. Insulation between programs and data, the data abstraction. In traditional file processing, the structure of the data files is embedded in the application programs, so any changes to the structure of a file may require changing all programs that access that file. For example, a file access programs may written in such a way that it can access only student records of this structure. If we want to add another piece of data to each student record, say the birth date, such as a program will no longer work and must be changed. DB approach. By contrast, DBMS programs do not require such changes in most cases, the structure of the data files is stored in the DBMS catalog separately from the access programs. So we call this property program data independence. By contrast, in a DBMS environment, we only need to change the description of student records in the catalog to reflect the inclusion of the new data item. Birth date, no programs are changed the next time a DBMS program refers to the catalog. The new structure of the student records will be accessed and used. In an object-oriented and object-relational systems, an operation, also called as a function or method, is specified in two parts. The interface or the signature of an operation includes the operation name and the data types of its arguments or parameters. The implementation or method of the operation is specified separately and can be changed without affecting the interface. User application programs can operate on the data by invoking these operations through their names and arguments regardless of how the operations are implemented. This may be termed program operation independence. The characteristics that allows program data independence and program operation independence is called data abstraction. Support of the multiple views of the data. A database typically has many types of users, each of whom may require a different perspective or view of the database. A view may be a subset of a database, or it may contain virtual data that is derived from the database files but is not explicitly stored. A multi-user database management system whose users have a variety of distinct applications and provide facilities for defining multiple views. For example, one user of the database may be interested only in accessing and printing the transcript of each student. A second user who is interested only in checking that students have taken all the prerequisites of each course for which the student registers may require the view. Sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. A multi-user DBMS, as its name implies, must allow multiple users to access the database at the same time. This is essential if the data for multiple applications is to be integrated and maintained in a single database. The fundamental role of the multi-user DBMS software is to ensure that concurrent transactions operate correctly and efficiently. A transaction is an executing program or process that includes one or more database accesses, such as reading or updating of the database records. The DBMS must enforce several transaction properties. The isolation property ensures that each transaction appears to execute in isolation from other transactions. Even though hundreds of transactions may be executing concurrently, the atomicity property ensures that either all the database operations in a transaction are executed or none are. Database actors on the scene. Database administrators. In database environment, the primary source is the database itself and the secondary source is DBMS and related software. Administering these resources is the responsibility of a database administrator. The DBA is responsible for authorizing access to the database, coordinating and monitoring its use, and acquiring software and hardware resources as needed. The DBA is accountable for problems such as security breaches and poor system response time. In large organizations, the DBA is assisted by a staff that carries out these functions. Database designers. Database designers are responsible for identifying data to be stored in the database and for choosing appropriate structures to represent and store their data. It is the responsibility of database designers to communicate with all prospective database users in order to understand their requirements and to create a design that meets these requirements. Database designers typically interact with each potential group of users and develop views of the database that meet the data and processing requirements of these groups. Each view is then analyzed and integrated with the views of other user groups. The final database design must be capable of supporting the requirements of all the user groups. End users. End users are the people whose jobs require access to the database for querying, updating and generating report. There are several categories of end users, casual end users. Occasionally I access the database, but they may need different information each time. They use a sophisticated database query language to specify their request and are typically middle or high level managers or other occasional browsers. Naive or parametric end users make up a sizable portion of data end users. Their main job function involves around constantly querying and updating the database using standard types of queries and updates called canned transactions that have been carefully programmed and tested. The tasks that such users perform are varied: bank teller, check account balances and post withdrawals and deposits; reservation agents for airlines, hotels and car rental companies check availability for a given request and make reservations; shipping clerks, example at UPS, who use buttons, barcode scanners, etc. to update status of in transit packages. Sophisticated end users include engineers, scientists, business analysts, and others who thoroughly familiarize themselves with the facilities of the DBMS in order to implement their own applications to meet their complex requirements. Standalone users use personal databases, possibly employing a special purpose. Example, financial software package mostly maintain personal databases using ready to use packaged applications. An example is a tax program user that creates its own internal database. Another example is maintaining an address book. System analysts, application programmers, software engineers, system analysts determine needs of end users, especially naive and parametric users, and develop specifications for canned transactions that meet these needs. Application programs implement, test, document, and maintain programs that satisfy the specifications mentioned above. Workers behind the scene. Persons are typically not interested in the database content itself, known as workers behind the scene, and they include the following categories: DBMS system designers and implementers design and implement the DBMS modules and interfaces as a software package. Tool developers design and implement tools, the software packages that facilitate database modeling and design, database system design and improved performance. They include packages for database design, performance monitoring, natural language or graphical interfaces, prototyping, simulation and test data generation. Operators and maintenance personnel. System administration personnel are responsible for the actual running and maintenance of the hardware and software environment for the database system. Advantages of using database approach: controlling redundancy. Data redundancy such as tends to occur in the file processing approach leads to the wasted storage space, duplication of effort when multiple copies of the datum need to be updated, and higher likelihood of the introduction of inconsistency. On other hand, redundancy can be used to improve performance of queries. Indexes, for example, are entirely redundant but help the DBMS in processing queries more quickly. A DBMS should provide the capability to automatically enforce the rule that no inconsistencies are introduced when data is updated. Restricting unauthorized access. A DBMS should provide a security and authorization subsystem with which the DBA uses to create accounts and to specify account restrictions. Then the DBMS should enforce these restrictions automatically. Providing persistent storage for database for program objects. Object-oriented database systems make it easier for complex runtime objects. Example is trees to be saved in secondary storage so as to survive beyond program termination and to be retrievable at a later time. Providing storage structures and search techniques for efficient query processing. Database systems must provide capabilities for efficiently executing queries and updates. The query processing and optimization module of the database management system is responsible for choosing an efficient query execution plan for each query based on the existing storage structures, providing backup and recovery. A DBMS must provide facilities for recovering from hardware or software failures. The backup and recovery subsystems of the DBMS is responsible for recovery. The recovery subsystem could ensure that the transaction is resumed from the point at which it was interrupted, so that its full effect is recorded in the database. Providing multiple user interfaces. Many types of users with varying levels of technical knowledge use a database. A DBMS should provide a variety of user interfaces, for example, query languages for casual users, programming language interfaces for application programmers, forms and or commands codes for parametric users, menu driven interfaces for standalone users. Representing complex relationships among data, a DBMS must have the capability to represent a variety of complex relationships among the data, to define new relationships as they arise, and to retrieve and update related data easily and efficiently. Enforcing integrity constraints. Most database applications have certain integrity constraints that must be held for the data. The simplest type of the integrity constraints involves specifying a data type for each data item. A more complex type of constraints that frequently occurs involves specifying that a record in one file must be related to records in other files. This is known as referential integrity constraints. Another type of constraint specifies uniqueness on the data item values. This is known as key or uniqueness constraint. Permitting interfacing and permitting inferencing and action via rules. In a deductive database system, one may specify declarative rules that allow the database to infer new data. Example, figure out which students are on academic probation. Such capabilities would take the place of application programs that would be used to ascertain such information otherwise. Active database systems go one step further by allowing active rules that can be used to initiate actions automatically. A brief history of database applications. Early database applications. The hierarchical and network models were introduced in mid-1960s and dominated during 70s. A bulk of the worldwide database processing still occurs using these models. Relational model based systems. Relational model was originally introduced in 1970, was heavily researched and experimented with in IBM research and several universities. Object oriented and emerging applications. Object-oriented database management systems were introduced in late 1980s and early 90s to cater to the need of complex data processing in CAD and other applications. Their use has not taken off much. Many relational DBSs have incorporated object database concepts, leading to a new category called the object relational database systems. Extended relational systems add further capabilities. Example for multimedia data, XML and other data types. Relational DBMS products emerged in the 1980s. Data on the web and e-commerce applications. Web contains data in HTML with links among pages. This has given rise to new set of applications, and e-commerce is using the new standards like XML, extended markup language. Script programming languages such as PHP and JavaScript allow generation of dynamic web pages that are partially generated from a database. New functionalities is being added to DBMSs in the following areas: scientific applications, XML, image storage and management, audio and video data management, data warehousing and data mining, spatial data management, time series and historical data management. The above gives rise to new research and development in incorporating new data types, complex data structures, new operations and storage and indexing schemes in database systems. Also allow database updates through web pages. When not to use DBMS. Main inhibitors are costs of using a database management system, high initial investment and possible need for additional hardware overhead for providing generality, security, concurrency control, recovery and integrity functions. When a DBMS may be unnecessary if the database and the applications are simple, well defined and not expected to change. If there are stringent real-time requirements that may not be met because of DBMS overhead, if access to data by multiple users is not required, when no DBMS may suffice. If the DBMS system is not able to handle the complexity of data because of modeling limitations, if the database users need special operations not supported by the DBMS. Now let us see overview of database languages and architectures. Data models, schemas and instances. One fundamental characteristics of the database approach is that it provides some level of data abstraction. Data abstraction generally refers to the separation of details of data organization and storage and highlighting of the essential features of an improved understanding of data. One of the main characteristics of the database approach is to support data abstraction so that different users can perceive data at their preferred level of details. A data model, a collection of concepts that can be used to describe the structure of database, provides the necessary means to achieve this abstraction. By structure of a database means the data types, relationships and constraints that apply to the data. Most data models also include a set of basic operations for specifying retrievals and updates on the database. Categories of database data models. High level or conceptual data models provide concepts that are close to the way many users perceive data. Use concepts such as entities, attributes and relationships. An entity represents a real world object or concept such as an employee or a project from the mini world that is described in the database. An attribute represents some property of interest that further describes an entity such as the employee's name or salary. A relationship among two or more entities represents an association using the entities. For example, a works on a relationship between an employee and a project. Low level or physical data models provide concepts that describe the details of how data is stored on the computer storage media, typically magnetic disks. Concepts provided by low level data models are generally meant for computer specialists, not for end users. Representational or implementation data models provide concepts that may be easily understood by end users but that are not too far removed from the way data is organized in computer storage. In between high level and low level hide many details of the data storage on a disk but can be implemented on a computer system directly. Schemas. The description of the database is called the database schema, which is specified during database design is not expected to change frequently. A displayed schema is called a schema diagram. Object is the schema. Object in the schema such as student or a course. A schema construct. A schema diagram displays only some aspects of a schema such as the names of record types and data items and some types of constraints. The actual data is in a database may change quite frequently. It changes every time we add a new student or enter a new grade. The data is the data in the database at a particular moment in time is called a database state or snapshot. It is also called the current set of occurrences or instances in the database. In a given database state, each schema construct has its own current set of instances. For example, the student construct will contain the set of individual student entities records as its instances. See the figure here. When we define a new database, we specify its database schema only to the DBMS. At this point, the corresponding database state is the empty state with no data. We get the initial state of the database when the database is first populated or loaded with the initial data from then on. Every time an update operation is applied to the database, we get another database state. At any point in the time the database has a current state, the DBMS is partly responsible for ensuring that every state of the database is a valid state, that is a state that satisfies the structure and constants specified in the schema. The DBMS stores the description of the schema constructs and constraints, also called the metadata, in the DBMS catalog. The schema is sometimes called the intention, and a database state is called the extension of the schema. And application requirements change occasionally, which is one of the reasons why software maintenance is important on such occasions. A change to a database schema may be called for. An example would be to add a date of birth field or attribute to the student table. Making changes to the database schema is known as schema evolution. Most modern DBMSs support schema evolution operations that can be applied while a database is operational. 3-schema architecture and data independence. The 3-schema architecture, the goal of the 3-schema architecture is to separate the user applications from the physical database. See the figure here. In this architecture, schema can be defined at the following 3 levels. The internal level has the internal schema, describes the physical storage structure of the database, uses a physical data model and describes the complete details of the data storage and access paths for the database. The conceptual level has a conceptual schema, describes the structure of the whole database for a community of users, hides the details of the physical storage structures, and concentrates on describing entities, data types, relationships, user operations, and constraints. Representational data model is used to describe the conceptual schema when a database system is implemented. This implementation conceptual schema is often based on a conceptual schema design in the high-level data model. 3. The external array view level includes a number of external schemas or user views. Describes the part of the database that a particular user group is interested in and hides the rest of the database from that user group. As in the previous level, each external schema is typically implemented using a representational data model, possibly based on an external schema design in a high-level data model. The DBMS must transform a request specified on an external schema into a request against the conceptual schema and then into a request on the internal schema for processing over the stored database. If the request is a database retrieval, the data extracted from the stored database must be reformatted to match the user's external view. The processes of transforming requests and results between levels are called mappings. These mappings may be time consuming, so some DBMSs, especially those that are meant to support small databases, do not support external views. Even in such systems, however, a certain amount of mapping is necessary to transform requests between the conceptual and internal levels. Database independence. Data independence, which can be defined as the capacity to change the schema at one level of a database system without having to change the schema at the next higher level. We can define 2 types of data independence. Logical data independence, capacity to change the conceptual schema without having to change external schemas or application programs. Change the conceptual schema to expand the database, to change constants or to reduce the database. Changes to constants can be applied to the conceptual schema without affecting the external schemas or application programs. Physical data independence, capacity to change the internal schema without having to change the conceptual schema. Hence, the external schemas need not be changed as well by creating additional access structures to improve the performance of retrieval or update. Database languages and interfaces. DBMS languages. DBMS packages provide an integrated feature of above languages into a single language called structured query language. Data definition language. DDL is used by the DBA and by database designers to define both schema. Storage definition language is used to specify the internal schema. Weave definition language to specify user weaves and their mappings to the conceptual schema. Data manipulation language provides a set of operations like retrieval, insertion, deletion and modification of the data. There are two main types of DMLs, a high level or non-procedural DML can be used on its own to specify complex database operations concisely. Many DBMS high-level DML statements either to be entered interactively from a display monitor or terminal or to be embedded in a general-purpose programming language can specify and retrieve many records in a single DML statement. Therefore, they are called set at a time or set-oriented DMLs. Declarative language. A low-level or procedural language DML must be embedded in a general-purpose programming language, retrieves individual records or objects from the database and processes each separately. To retrieve and process each record from a set of records, low-level DMLs are also called record at a time DMLs. Whenever DML commands, whether high level or low level, are embedded in general purpose language, that language is called host language and DML is called data sub language. A high level DML used in a stand-alone interactive manner is called a query language. DBMS interfaces. Menu-based interfaces for web clients are browsing. These interfaces present the user with lists of options called menus and that led the user through the formulation of a request. Forms-based interfaces displays a form to each user. User can fill out all of the form entries to insert new data, or they can fill out only certain entries, in which case the DBMS will retrieve matching data for the remaining entries. Graphical user interfaces display a schema to the user in diagrammatic form. The user that then can specify a query by manipulating the diagram. GUIs utilize both menus and forms. Most graphical user interfaces use a pointing device. Natural language interfaces accepts requests written in English or some other language and attempts to understand them. Speech input and output, use of the speech as an input query and speech as an answer to question or result. The speech input is detected using a library of predefined words and used to set up the parameters that are supplied to the queries. Interfaces for parametric users such as bank tellers often have a small set of operations that they must perform repeatedly. Interfaces for the DBA use privileged commands. These include commands for creating accounts, setting system parameters, granting account authorization, changing a schema, and recognizing the storage structures of the database. The database system environment. See the figure here. The figure is divided into two parts. The top part of the figure refers to the various users of the database environment and their interfaces. The lower part shows the internals of the database management system responsible for storage of data and processing of transactions. The database and the DBMS catalog are usually stored on the disk. Access to the disk is controlled primarily by the operating system, which schedules disk read or write. Many DBMSs have their own buffer management model to schedule disk read or write. Stored data manager controls access to DBMS information that is stored on the disk, whether it is a part of the database or the catalog. Top half figure, it shows the interfaces for the DBA staff, casual users who work with interactive interfaces to formulate queries, application programmers who create programs using some host programming languages, parametric users who do data entry work by supplying parameters to predefined transactions. The DBA staff works on defining the database and tuning it by making changes to its definition using the DDL and other privileged commands. DBA staff. The DDL compiler processes schema definitions specified in the DDL and stores descriptions of the schemas metadata in the DBMS catalog. The catalog includes information such as the names and sizes of files, names and data types of data items, storage details of each file, mapping information among schema and constants. Casual users interact using some form of interface which we call the interactive query interface. Queries are parsed and validated for correctness of the query syntax, the names of the files and data elements and so on by query compiler that compiles them into an internal form. This internal query is subjected to query optimization. Query optimizer is concerned with the rearrangement and possible reordering of operations, elimination of redundancies and use of correct algorithms and indexes during execution. It consults the system catalog for statistical and other physical information about the stored data and generates executable code that performs the necessary operations for the query and make calls on the runtime processor. Application programmers write programs in ARST language such as Java, C, C++ that are submitted to a pre-compiler. Pre-compiler extracts DML commands from an application program. Commands are sent to the DML compiler for compilation. Rest of the program is sent to the host language compiler. The object codes for the DML commands and the rest of the program are linked, forming a canned transaction. An example is a bank withdrawal transaction where the account number and the amount may be supplied as parameters. In the lower part of the figure, the runtime database processor executes the privileged commands, the executable query plans, and the canned transactions with runtime parameters. It works with the system catalog and may update it with statistics. It also works with the stored data manager, which in turn uses basic operating system services for carrying out low-level input or output read or write operations between the disk and main memory. The runtime database processor handles other aspects of data transfer such as management of buffers, concurrency control and backup and recovery systems integrated into working of the runtime database processor for purpose of transaction management. Database system utilities. DBMSs have database utilities that help the DBA manage the database system. Common utilities have the following types of functions. Loading, used to load existing data files such as text files or sequential files into the database, automatically reformats the data and stores in the database. For loading programs, conversion tools are available like IDMS, Computer Associates, Supra, Syncom and Image HP. Backup creates a backup copy of the database by dumping the entry database onto the tape. Used to restore the database in case of catastrophic disk failure. Incremental backups are also often used to save space. Database storage reorganization used to recognize a set of database files into different file organizations to improve performance. Performance monitoring monitors database usage and provides statistics to DBA. Statistics used for making decisions. Other utilities may be available for sorting files, handling data compression, monitoring access by users, interfacing with the network and performing the other functions. Tools, application environments and communication facilities. Case tools are used in the design phase of the database systems. Data dictionary or the data repository system for storing catalog information about schemas and constraints. Information repository stores information such as design decisions, usage standards, application programs, descriptions and user information. Application development environment systems provide an environment for developing database applications, including database design, GUI development, querying and updating, and application program development. communication software whose function is to allow users at locations remote from the database system site to access the database through computer terminals, workstations, or personal computers. These are connected to the database site through data communications hardware such as internet routers, phone lines, long haul networks, local networks, or satellite communication devices. The integrated DBMS and data communication system is called DBRDC system. Centralized and client server architecture for DBMS. Centralized DBMS architecture. See the figure here. Earlier architectures used mainframe computers to provide the main processing for all system functions. These mainframes are replaced by users with their terminals with PCs and workstations. DB systems used these computers similarly to how they had used display terminals, so that the DBMS itself was still a centralized DBMS in which all the DBMS functionality, application program execution, and user interface processing were carried out on one machine. Gradually, DBMS systems started to exploit the available processing power at the user side, which led to client or server DBMS architectures. Now let us see basic client server architecture. See the figure. The client or server architecture was developed to deal with computing environments in which a large number of PCs, workstations, file servers, printers, database servers, web servers, email servers, and other software and equipment are connected via a network. The idea is to define specialized servers with specific functionalities. It is possible to connect a number of PCs or small workstations as clients to file server that maintains the files of the client machines. Another machine can be designated as a printer server by being connected to various printers. All print requests by the client are forwarded to this machine. Web servers or email servers also fall into the specialized server category. The resources provided by the specialized servers can be accessed by many client machines. The client machines provide the user with the appropriate interfaces to utilize these servers as well as with local processing power to run local applications. This concept can be carried over to other software packages with specialized programs such as a CAD, computer aided design package. Physical two-tier client or server architecture. See the figure here. Some machines would be client sites only, other machines would be dedicated servers, and other would have both client and server functionality. The concept of a client server architecture assumes an underlying framework that consists of many PCs and workstations as well as a smaller number of mainframe machines connected via LANs and other types of computer networks. A client machine provides a user machine that provides user interface capabilities and local processing. A server is a system containing both hardware and the software that can provide services to the client machines such as file access, printing, archiving, and database access. In general, some machines install only client server software, others only server software, and still other many may include both client and server software. Two-tier client or server architecture for DBMSs. In relational database management systems, many of which started as centralized systems, the system components that were first moved to the client side were the user interface and application programs. SQL provided a standard language for DBMSs. This created a logical dividing point between client and server. Hence, the query and the transaction functionality related to SQL processing renamed on the server side. In such an architecture, the server is often called a query server or transaction server. In an RDBMS, the server is also often called an SQL server. The user interface programs and application programs can run on the client side. When DBMS access is required, the program establishes a connection to the DBMS which is on the server side. Once the connection is created, the client program can communicate with the DBMS. A standard called Open Database Connectivity provide an application programming interface. The second approach to two-tier client or server architecture was taken by some object-oriented DBMSs, where the software modules of the DBMSs were divided between client and server. The server level may include the part of the DBMS software responsible for handling data storage on disk pages, local concurrency control and recovery, buffering and caching of disk pages and other such functions. The client level may handle the user interface, data dictionary functions, database management interactions with programming language compilers, global query optimization, control, concurrency control and recovery across multiple servers, structuring of complex objects from the data in the buffers. The architectures described here are called two-tier architecture because the software components are distributed over two systems, client and server. The advantages of this architecture: simplicity and seamless compatibility with existing systems. Three-tier and n-tier architectures for web applications. See the figure here. Many web applications use an architecture called the three-tier architecture, which adds an intermediate layer between the client and the database server. The intermediate layer or middle tier is called the application server or the web server, depending on the application. This server plays an intermediary role by running application programs and storing business rules, procedures or constants that are used to access data from the database server. It can also improve database security by checking an client's credentials before forwarding a request to the database server. Clients contain GUI interfaces and some additional applications specific business rules. The intermediate server accepts a request from the client, processes the request and sends database queries and commands to the database server, and then acts as a conduit for passing partially processed data from the database server to the clients. Thus, the user interface, application rules and data access act as the three-tier. The presentation layer displays information to user and allows data entry. The business logic layer handles intermediate rules and constants before data is passed up to the user or down to the DBMS. The bottom layer includes all data management services. The middle layer can also act as a web server, which retrieves query results from the database server and formats them into dynamic web pages that are viewed by the web browser at the client side. If a business logic layer is divided into multi-layer, then called an n-tier architecture. Classification of database management systems. Data model used in the commercial DBMS. Many legacy applications still run on the database systems based on the hierarchical and new network data models. Number of users. Single user systems support only one user at a time and are mostly used in PCs. Multi-user systems, which include the majority of DBMSs, support concurrent multiple users. Number of sites. Centralized DBMS, the data is stored at a single computer site. Distributed DBMS software distributed over many sites. Homogeneous DBMS uses the same DBMS software at all the sites. Heterogeneous DBMS can use different DBMS software at each site. Homogeneous DBMSs use the same DBMS software at all the sites. Cost. Open source like MySQL and PostgreSQL 30-day copy versions sold in forms of license, types of access paths, inverted file structures, general purpose or special purpose online transaction processing system. Other important data models, network model represent data as record types and also represent a limited type of 1:n relationship called a set type. Hierarchical model represents data as hierarchical tree architectures represents data as hierarchical tree structures. Each hierarchy represents a number of related records. Conceptual data modeling using entities and relationships. Conceptual modeling is very important phase in designing successful database application using high-level conceptual data models for database design. See the figure here. The main phases of database design are requirements collection and analysis. Purpose is to produce a description of users' requirements. Conceptual design purpose is to produce a conceptual schema for the database including detailed descriptions of entity types, relationship types and constants. All these are expressed in terms provided by the data model being used. Example, ER model implementation purpose is to transform the conceptual schema which is at high or abstract level into a lower level representational or implementational model supported by whatever DBMS is to be used. Physical design purpose is to decide upon the internal storage structures, access paths, indexes, etc. that will be used in realizing the representational model produced in previous phase. A sample database application. The company database keeps track of the company's employees, departments and projects. The company is organized into departments. Each department has a unique name, a unique number and a particular employee who manages the department. We keep track of the start date when that employee began managing the department. A department may have several locations. A department controls a number of projects, each of which has a unique name, a unique number and a single location. The database will store each employee's name, social security number, address, salary, sex and birth date. An employee is assigned to one department but may work on several projects which are not necessarily controlled by the same department. It is required to keep track of the current number of hours per week that an employee works on each project as well as the direct supervisor of data and of each employee who is another employee. The database will keep track of the dependents of each employee for insurance purpose, including each department's first name, sex, birth date, and relationship to the employee. See the figure here. Entity types, entity sets, attributes and keys. The ER model describes data as entities, relationships and attributes. Entities and attributes. Entity, which is a thing or object in the real world with an independent existence. An entity may be an object with a physical existence. For example, a particular person, car, house or employee. Are object with a conceptual existence. For instance, a company, a job, a university course. Each entity has attributes, the particular properties that describe it. For example, an employee entity may be described by the employee's name, age, address, salary and job. See the figure here. The above figure shows two entities and the values of their attributes. The employee entity E1 has 4 attributes: name, address, age and home number. Their values are John Smith 2311, Kirby, Houston, Texas 7720155 and 713-749-2630 respectively. The company entity C1 has 3 activities: name, headquarters and president. Their values are Sonku, Oil, Houston and John Smith respectively. Types of the attributes occur in the ER model: simple versus composite, single versus multi-valued, single valued versus multi-valued, stored versus derived. Composite attributes can be divided into smaller subparts. For example, the address attribute of the employee entity can be subdivided into 3: address, city, state and zip. 3 with the values 2311 Kirby, Houston, Texas and 77001. Attributes that are not divisible are called simple or atomic attributes. For example, attribute age cannot be divided. See the figure here, single valued. Most attributes have a single value for a particular entity. For example, age is a single valued attribute of a person. Multi-valued, an entity having multiple values for that attribute. For example, color of a color black, red. Person's degree, degree BE, MTech, PhD. Stored and derived attribute. 2 or more attribute values are related. For example, age and birth date, attributes of a person. The value of age can be determined from the current today's date and values of the person's birth date. The age attribute is hence called a derived date attribute. Birth date attribute is called a stored attribute. Null values. In some cases, a particular entity may not have an applicable value for an attribute. For example, the apartment number attributes of an address applies only to addresses that are in the apart buildings and not to other types of residences such as single family homes. College degrees attributes applies only to people with college degrees. Complex attributes, composite and multi-valued attributes can be nested arbitrary nesting by grouping components of a composite attribute between parentheses and separating the components with commas, and by displaying multi-valued attributes between braces. Such attributes are called complex attributes. For example, if a person can have more than one residence and each resident can have a single address and multiple phone numbers, an attribute address phone for a person. See the figure here. Entity types, entity sets, keys and value sets. Entity types and entity sets. Entity type defines a collection or set of entities that have the same attributes. Each entity type in the database is described by its name and attributes. Below figure shows 2 entity types employed in the company and a list of some of the attributes for each. See the figure here. The collection of entities of a particular entity type in the database at any point in the time is called an entity set or entity collection. Entity set is usually referred to using the same name as the entity type. An entity type is represented in here diagram as a rectangular box. Attribute names are enclosed in ovals and are attached to their entity type by straight lines. Composite attributes are attached to their component attributes by straight lines. Multi-valued attributes are displayed in double ovals. Collection of entities of a particular entity type is grouped into an entity set, which is also called extension of entity type. Now let us see key attributes of an entity type. Important constants on the entities of an entity type is the key or uniqueness constant on attributes. An entity type usually has one or more attributes whose values are distinct for each individual entity in the entity set. Such as attribute is called the key attribute and its values can be used to identify each entity uniquely. For example, name attribute is a key of the company entity type in because no two companies are allowed to have the same name. For the person entity type, a typical key attribute is SSN. Specify that an attribute is a key of an entity type means that the preceding uniqueness property must hold for each entity set of the entity type. Hence, it is the constant that prohibits any two entities from having the same value for the key attribute at the same time. Some entity types have more than one key attribute. For example, each of the vehicle ID and registration attributes of the entity type car is a key in its own right. See the figures here. Value set domains of attributes. Each simple attribute of an entity type is associated with a value set or domain of values which specifies the set of values that may be assigned to that attribute for each individual entity. If the range of the ages allowed for employees is between 16 and 70, we can specify that value set of the age attribute of employee to be the set of integer numbers between 16 and 70. Value sets are not typically displayed in basic ER diagrams and are similar to the basic data types available in most programming languages such as integer, string, boolean, float, enumerated type, sub-range and so on. Mathematically, an attribute A of the entity set E whose value set is V can be defined as a function from E to the power set P of V of V. We refer to the value of the attribute A for entity as A of E. The previous definition covers both single valued and multi-valued attributes as well as nulls. A null value is represented by the empty set. For single valued attributes, A of E is restricted to being a singleton set for each entity E in E, small letter E in capital letter E. No restrictions on the multi-valued attributes. For a composite attribute A, the value set V is the power set of the Cartesian product of P of P1, P of P2 up to P of Vn, where V1, V2, V2 up to Vn are the values set of the simple component attributes that form A. Initial conceptual design of the company database. See the figure here. Relationship types, relationship sets, roles and structure constants. Whenever an attribute of one entity type refers to another entity type, some relationship exists. For example, the attribute manager of department refers to an employee who manages the department. The attribute controlling department of a project refers to the department that controls the project. In the ER model, these references should not be represented as attributes but as relationships, relationship types, sets and instances. A relationship type are among n entity types E1, E2 up to En defines a set of associations or a relationship set among entities from these entity types. Entity types and entity sets, a relationship type and its corresponding relationship set are customarily referred to by the same name. R mathematically the relationship set R is a set of relationship instances Ri where each Ri associates an individual entity is E1 to up to En and each entity Ej in Ri is a member of an entity set Ej. 1 is lesser than or equal to j is lesser than or equal to n. A relationship set is a mathematical relation on E1, E2 up to En. Alternatively, it can be defined as a subset of the Cartesian product of the entity sets E1 into E2 into up to En. Each of the entity type E1, E2 up to En is set to participate in the relationship type R. Each of the individual entities E1, E2 up to En is said to be participate in the relationship instance R is equal to E1, E2 up to En. See the figure here. Consider a relationship type works for between the two entity types employee and the department which associates each employee with the department for which the employee works. Each relationship instance in the relationship set works for associates one employee entity and one department entity. The employees E1, E2 up to E6 work for the department D1. The employees E2, E4 work for department 2 and the employees E5, 7 work for department D3. In ER diagram, relationship types are displayed as diamond-shaped boxes which are connected by straight lines to the rectangular boxes representing the participating entity types. The relationship name is displayed in the diamond-shaped box. Relationship degree, role names and recursive relationships. Degree of the relationship type. The degree of the relationship type is the number of participating entity types. Hence, the works for relationship is of degree 2. A relationship type of degree 2 is called binary, and one of the degree 3 is the ternary. An example of a ternary relationship is the supply shown in the figure, where each relationship instance R associate three entities: a supplier S, a part P, and a project J, whenever S supplies a part P to the project J. Role names and recursive relationships. Each entity type that participates in the relationship type plays a particular role in the relationship. The role name signifies the role that a participating entity from the entity type plays in a relationship instance. For example, in the works of a relationship type, employee plays the role of employee or worker, and department plays the role of the department or employer. Same entity type participates more than one in a relationship type in different roles. Such relationship types are called recursive relationships. Constraints on binary relationship types. Relationship types usually have certain constraints that limit the possible combinations of entities that may participate in the corresponding relationship set. These constraints are determined from the mini-world situation that the relationships represents. Two main types of binary relationship constraints: cardinality ratio, participation constraints, structural constraints. Cardinality ratio for binary relationships. The cardinality ratio for a binary relationship specifies the maximum number of relationship instances that an entity can participate in. For example, in works for binary relationship type, department employee is of the cardinality ratio 1:n, meaning that each department can be related to that is employee any number of employees n9, but an employee can be related to work for at most one department of 1. The possible cardinality ratio for binary relationship types are 1:1, 1:n, n:1, and m:n. See the figure here. An m:n relationship works on. See the figure. In m:n, an employee can work on several projects, and a project can have several employees. Cardinality ratio for binary relationships are represented on here diagrams by displaying 1m and n on the diamonds. Participation constants and existence dependencies. The participation constant specifies whether the existence of an entity depends on its being related to another entity via the relationship type. This constant specifies the minimum number of relationship instances that each entity can participate in and is sometimes called the minimum cardinality constants. There are two types of participation constants: total and partial. If a company policy states that every employee must work for a department, then an employee entity can exist only if it participates in at least one works for relationship instance. Thus, the participation of employee in works for is called total participation, meaning that every entity in the total set of employee entities must be related to the department entity via works for. Total participation is also called as existence dependency. We do not expect every employee to manage a department, so the participation of employee in the manager's relationship type is partial, meaning that some are part of the set of the employee entities are related to some department entity via managers, but not necessarily all. In ER diagram, total participation is displayed as a double line connecting the participating entity type to the relationship, whereas partial participation is represented by the single line. Now let us see attributes of relationship types. Relationship types can also have attributes similar to those of the entity types. For example, to record the number of hours per week that a particular employee works on a particular project, we can include an attribute hours for the works for relationship type. To include the data on which a manager started managing a department via an attribute start date for the manager's relationship types. Weak entity types. Entity types that do not have key attributes of their own and are called weak entity types. In contrast, regular entity types that do have a key attribute are called strong entity types. Entities belonging to a weak entity type are identified by being related to specific entities from another entity type in the combination with one of their attribute values. We call this other entity type the identifying or owner entity type, and we call the relationship type that relates a weak entity type to its owner the identifying relationship of the weak entity type. A weak entity type always has a total participation constants with respect to its identifying relationship because a weak entity cannot be identified without an owner entity. A weak entity type normally has a partial key, which is the attribute that can uniquely identify weak entities that are related to the same owner entity. Assume that no two dependents of the same employee ever have the same first name. The attribute name of the dependent is the partial key. Here diagrams, naming conventions, and design issues. Proper naming of schema constructs. Choose names that convey the meanings attached to the different constructs in the schema. Use singular names for entity types rather than the plural ones. Use the convention that entity type and the relationship type names are in the uppercase letters. Attribute names have their initial letter capitalized and role names are in the lowercase letters. Nouns appearing in the narrative tend to give rise to entity type names, and the verbs tend to indicate the names of relationship types. Choosing binary relationship names to make the ER diagram of the schema readable from left to right and from top to bottom. Design choices for ER conceptual design. Schema design process should be considered as an iterative refinement process where an initial design is created and then iteratively refined until the most suitable design is reached. Some of the refinements that are often used including the following. A concept may be first modeled as an attribute and then refined into a relationship because it is determined that the attribute is a reference to another entity type. Similarly, an attribute that exists in several entity types may be evaluated or promoted to an independent entity type. For example, suppose that each of the several entity types in a university database, such as student, instructor, and course, has an attribute department in the initial design. The designer may then choose to create an entity type department with a single attribute department name and relate it to the three entity types, student, instructor, and course via appropriate relationships. An inverse refinement to the previous case may be applied. For example, if an entity type department exists in the initial design with a single attribute department name and is related to only one other entity type, student, in this case department may be reduced or demoted to an attribute of a student. See the summary of notation for ER diagrams here. See the figures. See here ER diagrams for the company schema with structural constants specified using min max notation and role names. See here examples of other notations, UML class diagrams. Choosing between binary and tertiary or higher degree relationships in ER diagram notation for a ternary relationship type is as shown in the figure A, which displays the schema for the supply relationship type that was displayed at the entity set relationship set or instance level. Recall that the relationship set of supply is a set of relationship instances where S is the supplier who is currently supplying a part P to a project J. In general, a relationship type R of the degree n will have n degree edges in an ER diagram, one connecting R to each participating entity type. Figure B shows a ER diagram for the three binary relationship types can supply, users and supplies. In general, a ternary relationship type represents a different information than do three binary relationship types. Consider the three binary relationship types can supply, users and supplies. Suppose that can supply between the supplier and part includes an instance S comma P where supplier S can supply part P to any project. Users between a project and part includes an instance J comma P whenever project J uses part P, and supplies between a supplier and the project includes the instance S comma J, whereas supplier S supplies some part to the project J. The existence of three relationship instances S comma P, J comma P, S comma J is in can supply, users and supplies respectively does not necessarily imply that an instance S comma J comma P exists in the ternary relationship supply because the meaning is different. It is often tricky to decide whether a particular relationship should be represented as a relationship type of degree n or should be broken down into several relationship types of smaller degrees. The designer must base this decision on the semantics or meanings of the particular situation being represented. See the figure for an ER diagram university database. This is for airline database. This is an ER diagram for bank database. This is for movie database and specialization and generalization. See here, specialization is the process of defining a set of subclasses of an entity type. This entity type is called the superclass of the specialization. The set of subclasses that forms a specialization is defined on the basis of some distinguishing characteristic of the entities in the superclass. For example, the set of subclasses secretary, engineer, technician is a specialization of the superclass employee that distinguishes among employee entities based on the job type of each employee. See the figure here. One can think of a reverse process of abstraction in which suppress the differences among several entity types, identify their common features and generalize them into a single superclass of which the original entity types are a special class subclasses. For example, consider the entity of types car and truck shown in the below figure. Because they have several common attributes, they can be generated into the entity type vehicle as shown in the figure. Both the car and the truck are now subclasses of the generalized superclass vehicle. We use the term generalization to refer the process of defining a generalized entity type from the given entity types. See the figure.